I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, January the 7th, brought to you in part by Brommagen Commodities, better known as Bromcom. That's Candy Sullivan in Lexington, Kentucky there at the Grand Exchange Building there at Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington. And she can take care of you guys from anywhere. She knows all about hedging. She's a great speculator. You can do like me, send some money in there and just let her manage it with agricultural commodities, and she kind of knows which direction things are going, and she's very knowledgeable with things and hooked in with a lot of people that know what's going on. But if you guys need some help with your commodities, with your hedging, your risk management, check her out. Go to brommagencommodities.com. That's BROMAGEN commodities.com and get more information on how to contact her. The board soared on Monday, and we thought that it might. We talked about that in earlier visits about how the late week and the end of the year pressure on the board all of last week had a lot to do with the way that the funds and speculators were moving their positions around. And just like we thought, the board responded as we got into the first full week of 2020, back to full business here with our cattle marketing, and really took off an impressive showing on Monday. Look at the board. February live cattle futures up $2.55 at 127.27. April up $2.42 at 128.10. Your out fronts were not as confident probably as your nearbys, but still a pretty good showing. January feeder cattle up $4.07, and we needed that back because they lost quite a bit of ground, over $2 last week. But January ending the day on Monday at 147.42. March up 367 at 146.35. Your weighted average on last week's fed cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region negotiated 71,000. Thought it might be a little bit more than that. Evidently not quite as much, 125 and $2 dressed late in the day on Friday is what we thought, but still a fair showing, 71,000 head compared to the previous week's holiday market that had a volume of 48,800 head, but still that 71,000 pales in comparison to the same week a year ago, which was 101,700 head, and that just continues as it has all through the year of 2019, with negotiated trade significantly lighter, and we just continue to lose negotiated trade, which really gives us our leverage and establishes that fat cattle trade. But you look at the prices, they were mostly 124, which was $2 higher for the week, and mostly 198 to 199, which was $3 to $4 higher dressed. But your 5-area feeding region, they sold live steers from 122 to 127, heifers too, mostly 124 with some of that 125 later in the day on Friday. But the weighted average price on live steers at 124.21, that was up $1.93 compared to the previous week. Your heifers were at 124.01, so that goes to tell you that the lion's share of them sold at 124. On a dress basis, fed steers and heifers 193 all the way up to $2 dressed, and mostly 198 to 199. Your dressed steers had a weighted average price of 198.60 in the 5-area feeding region. That was up $3.38 compared to the weighted average from the previous week. Your heifers were almost 199 on the weighted average at 198.90. So that just goes to show you it's just kind of how they fall. It doesn't make a big difference whether it's steers or heifers. But nationwide, your negotiated trade had 97,200 head. And that shows you that there's a lot of negotiated trade around the fringes. And now you see USDA is wanting to start pulling that fringe trade into the 5-area feeding region to get more negotiated trade reported. But that may not bode well for those outfits on the fringes, South Dakota, Illinois, Wyoming, places like that, because it is going to cause the weighted average price to go up, because a lot of times those cattle are selling near the top of the market. But That 97,200 head nationwide compares to 122,500 head a year ago. But that 97.2 for 15 to 30 day delivery, 22,100 head, or 22.8%, almost 23% of your nationwide negotiated trade was for the 2 to 4 week delivery. Cassie Fish, who I read regularly on the beef, she did note in there that we are pulling market-ready cattle through the supply chain at the fastest rate in 8 to 9 years. So that is what's giving us our big push in the market. That's what's giving us all of our support is the heavy slaughter rates and the way we're moving those cattle through there. Now, negotiated grid pricing, negotiated grid, not just selling them on the grid or not just selling them off last week's market or last week's weighted average with some kickers and things like that, but a negotiated grid where you get to negotiate the base price. You don't leave it up to something that doesn't have anything to do with you. But you guys need to continue to try to sell fat cattle where you have some say in the price. So you got to negotiate that price. That's where your competition comes from. But there was considerable negotiated grid trade last week, 16,400 head compared to a year ago of only 13,200 head, and you compare that back to a year ago's volume, and we're seeing a significant increase in negotiated grid pricing. That's good for you feedlot guys. You need to continue to try to get your packers to let you negotiate the starting base price, and that's almost as good as just a regular negotiated cash trade. I want to talk about Paris Stockyards in Paris, Kentucky. DB auction customer there. I talked to Mike Thornton. He's a Paris native there, and on Thursday, this Thursday, January the 9th, he has decided to consign his string 450 head of 8-weight steers, all black with just a sprinkling, just a handful, I think he said 9 head of smoky Charolais. They'll be the right kind. Long-time yearlings there. It'll be the largest draft. If they decide to sell them all in one string, bring them in, and of course I'll have to see if they need to sort on them, but they look like they're pretty even, and they're a nice rig. But it'll be the largest draft ever sold at Paris Stockyards. And he owns Rumor Has It Farms, which he must be a kind of jovial guy there if he named his farm Rumor Has It. But he usually sells his cattle direct. He has decided to bring them into the stockyards, sell them to the highest bidder, find out about price transparency, get a true market value out of there, and we got to give those kind of guys some credit there, because so many times those long strings of yearlings, and you can't blame them, they sell direct. It's easier that they don't have to fret so much about the price, because they don't have to take it till they decide to, if they sell them right from home and direct to the feedlot. But he's going to put his cattle through the sale barn there, through the ring at Paris Stockyards, and you can view that on Thursday at dbauction.com. Big receipts to start this year out. More than what we thought. We had some big receipts there, some big sales late in the year last year, but as we got back going with our high volume sales on a Monday, hadn't had a regular sale for 2 weeks, huge sales. El Reno, Oklahoma on Tuesday and Wednesday are looking for 11 to 12,000 head, but I was talking with John Cooper there. He says it might pull more cattle the way that the board responded on Monday, and if it continues that, might get more cattle than what they were thinking. But 11 to 12,000 in El Reno, middle of this week. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards, your nation's feeder cattle market, at 13,200 head. Still working on those late in the day on Monday, but your mid-session call had feeder steers and heifers steady to $2 higher. I thought it might be a little more higher than that, but that volume, the heavy supply there, surely pulled it back just a little bit, and even with the board being up like it was, but steady to $2 higher. You got to take that whenever you can get it. Calves had a higher undertone as of the mid-session call, more so on the heifers. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 13,100 head for the first regular sale of 2020. They had a big sale, a weanback sale, right after New Year's there last Thursday, 8,700 head. So marketing a lot of cattle right there in that 4-state region. But Joplin with 13,100 head, compare that to 2 weeks ago. Just like Oklahoma City, they haven't had a regular sale for 2 weeks, but steer calves weighing under 5.5, the smaller kind, stocker types, $3 to $5 higher. Your lighter weight heifer calves, $3 to $7 higher. That's kind of more what we were thinking. Your bigger feeding calves and yearlings were mostly steady. Russell, Iowa, Russell Livestock there, 4,700 head for their first sale of 2020. No recent sale there was reported to really gather the market, but they did note that it was a higher undertone, so a good sale there at Russell, Iowa. Give you a couple of individual quotes that stuck out to me. Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. Jack Harrison, John Harrison, and the crew right there had a great sale on Monday to start the year. 54 head, 701 pound steers, 159. Faith Livestock, Faith, South Dakota, sold 70 head of 850 pound steers at 150 and 4 1/4 on Monday. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.